Okay, so what if I told you that you could pretty much double your Claude AI usage without paying a single dollar more? Well, there's a surprisingly simple trick to do just that. And if you've ever been cut off by a usage limit, right when you're in the middle of something important, you know how frustrating that is. Let's fix that.
We've all been there, right? You are deep in the zone. You're coding something, maybe you're drafting a really complex report with Claude, and then bam! You get that dreaded usage limit reached message. Just like that, your flow is completely shattered and your project is just stuck.
But there's a way to just completely sidestep that wall. It's a method that lets you double your messages right when you need them most, during your most productive hours. And the best part? It doesn't require any fancy APIs or plan upgrades. Just a little bit of smart timing. Let me show you how it works.
To unlock this trick, we first have to get under the hood and understand the system itself. See, once you know how Claude actually calculates its usage limits, which, by the way, is totally different from most other AIs out there, you can start using that system to your advantage.
So here's the core concept you need to grasp. Unlike other tools that might give you a fixed number of messages per day, Claude uses a session-based system. This means it's not really about how many messages you send in a day, but when you send them, inside a specific rolling window of time.
And this is the magic number that makes it all possible. 5 hours. Every single Claude session lasts for exactly 5 hours. And that clock starts ticking the moment you send your very first message. Once that 5-hour window is up, boom, your message count completely resets and you can start a brand new session.
All right, so let's look at how this plays out on a typical workday. We'll just walk through a really common scenario to see exactly where that frustration comes from and why so many of us hit that wall way too early.
So, picture this. You start your focus work at 1 p.m. Your first message kicks off that 5-hour clock, which means your session is set to reset at 6 p.m. But you're on a roll, you're working hard, and by 3 p.m., you're already out of messages. Now, here's the problem. Even though you hit the limit 2 hours in, you're still locked out until that original 6 p.m. reset time.
And that right there is the result. 3 hours of just forced downtime. Right when you were in the zone, all your momentum is gone and you're just stuck waiting for a clock to tick down. It's a super inefficient way to get things done.
So it makes you wonder, right? Isn't there a better way? A way to work around this whole thing without having to upgrade your plan and spend more money? Well, you'll be happy to hear that the answer is a big yes.
And this brings us to the solution. I call it the double session strategy. It's a really simple shift in your timing that completely changes the game. It's all about putting you back in control of your workflow. Okay, so check this out. Let's say you know you want to do your deep work at 1 p.m., but instead of waiting until then, you start your session way earlier, say at 10 a.m. with something simple, like just sending the word hi. Then you go about your morning. When you finally sit down to work at 1 p.m., you're already 3 hours into that first session. So when you hit your limit around 3 p.m., well, that's exactly when your first session expires. And at 3:01 p.m., you can start a brand new, fresh session with a full message count. Absolutely zero downtime. So let's just boil this down into 3 super easy steps. First, send an early, throwaway message a few hours before you actually plan to work. Second, do all your real work during that planned time, knowing you're in that overlapping window. And third, the moment that first session timer runs out, you're totally free to kick off a second one, which effectively doubles your capacity for that work block.
You can even fine-tune this whole thing based on your own work habits. You know, if you're a really heavy user and you burn through your limit in an hour, just start your session 4 hours early. If your usage is more moderate, a 3-hour head start is probably the sweet spot. The whole key is to just adjust the timing so it perfectly matches your specific workflow.
Now, there is one little piece of fine print to keep in mind here. How you use this strategy really depends on which Claude plan you're actually on.
So, look, if you're on the free or pro plan, you get unlimited sessions, which means you can use this trick all day, every day if you want to. You're golden. However, if you're on the high-end max plan, you're limited to about 50 sessions a month. The strategy still works perfectly, but you'll probably want to be a bit more strategic about it and save it for those days when you really need that extra uninterrupted focus time.
And really, that's the main takeaway here. By just understanding the system and making one tiny little shift in your timing, you can unlock a massive boost in your productivity. It puts you back in the driver's seat and keeps your creative flow going without any interruptions.
Ultimately, this isn't just about getting a few more messages. It's about reclaiming your focus, your momentum. So the real question is, with all this new uninterrupted time that you've unlocked, what are you going to build?